So we'll start with the honey farm because we're over here, and also, by the way, I have Gamma Override on, so that's when it's off and that's when it's on. And the reason for this is because I watched some of the previous episodes back, and it looked a bit bad with the light level down as far down as it was. So put Gamma Override on while I was doing the Nether, just to show you what's going on here. So essentially, with this honey farm, it's not really a starter one, as I found out the hard way. It took me 2 weeks just to build this thing up because of all the trying to get all the bees, and then I had to get all of the bottles, glass bottles, to fill it up. That took absolutely ages. So I wouldn't recommend doing it this size just for your first starter honey farm. But I'd go with just one of these modules, and that would be perfectly fine. But it's essentially, so let's just go into FreeCam. It's essentially a very basic design. So your basic design is that you have a comparator reading the beehive, and it will then be full at a signal strength of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what you do is you just basically get the redstone going up, down here, and then once it gets to 5, it will then power this block, which will then power the dispenser, which has got some glass bottles in it, and that will then dispense out honey, which then gets hooked up by these hoppers, and then it goes into the central area. And there's another bit of this design as well, which I think I may have very briefly talked about, which is that you can turn it on and off by having these fence gates here, and you can only do that because you have the flowering azalea leaves here, which is the advantage of this new feature. Well, I say new feature, it's from like 1.17, so it's not that new technically, but as far as I'm concerned, it's fairly new. And this really helps, so you don't have to use flowers anymore, and you can actually turn the farms on and off, which is a huge win in my opinion. But for this sort of scale, this sort of farm is fine. For a larger scale, you might want to consider not just spamming this much redstone, and it's got a lot of hopper spam as well, so yeah, it's not great, but it does the job. The honey goes into a central area, and essentially what we're doing here is we're just combining it down into this barrel here, or this dropper, or this chute essentially, and it'll go all the way down here, and then because I have the carpet auto dropper mod rule enabled, I can then autocraft the honey balls into honey blocks. But if this is a vanilla, this will go into a storage, and then you craft them later. But yeah, this crafter is something I designed myself. It essentially does all the complicated bits you have to do with the crafting of honey. I explained the issues with crafting honey blocks in the last episode, so if you want to have a detailed, if you want to look at the reasoning behind how this design works, then look there. But to sort of show you it working itself, I will do that now, because I didn't actually show that. I didn't actually show it working. So here we have the main dropper. There we go. And there you go, see, it came in very quickly, and it then crafted it up extremely quickly. But yeah, there's a bit of a time difference between the resets between each crafting, but it's not the end of the world, because we're only really crafting one honey block every so often anyway, so this is perfectly fine for this speed. The output sorts both honey blocks and glass bottles, and the glass bottles go back into the system, and then the honey blocks go into here, and then anything that's overflowed would get binned. So if we exceed the honey blocks, which at the moment I've only got nearly just 2.5, essentially nearly 2.5 double chests of honey blocks. Once this is full, and this would then go all the way up, then the honey blocks would end up getting binned, but the glass bottles wouldn't get binned, which is a good thing, so we can keep recycling them. And I'm very happy that we will be recycling them, because it took me absolutely ages to get them all. So yeah, these honey bottles are very precious to me now. But yeah, that's the honey farm, so I hope that's helps explain what's going on. That's the honey farm. Now let's go to the slime farm. So I did sort of talk about the slime farm, this side of the slime farm anyway, which is obviously just the storage and the crafting. So actually no, it's not even the crafting, it's just the storage. So essentially we get the slime blocks coming over here. So the slime blocks are again auto crafting, so the slime balls are crafted into slime blocks. They are then dispensed into the nether. The reason for this is purely because I want the storage in the nether, so that I can just go from wherever, come over into the nether, get to the farm location, and then I don't have to go to the overworld. I can just grab everything I can in the nether. So that's the idea there, and that's the other reason why the storage of the honey farm's over here. I mean, the real reason the honey farm's in the nether is because the bees will never sleep. They will never stay inside the nests during nighttime. And I also have a carpet thick rule enabled for a bug, which will mean that the bees will always won't be scared by rain when it's raining in the overworld in the Nether. So they get so in vanilla there's a bug where they get affected by the rain and they stay in their hives whilst it's raining in the overworld. So to fix that, I put the carpet fix mod on and enable that rule. But anyway, so with the slime farm, it's just there basically storage. So all it does is goes into here, goes into a dropper tower, and then gets put into the storage, and anything else that overflows gets binned. So here we've got full storage, so full double chests, and yeah, then I've already gone with 3 double chests for the honey farm. But yeah, that's the Nether side. Let's go to the overworld. Here we are in the overworld. Now, this bit here is essentially the autocrafting, which is really simple. So slime balls come into this hopper, they go into the dropper here, they will then fill up until it's full. Once it's full, this will output a full signal strength because it's comparing it to the redstone block here. Anything lower it won't, because yeah, again the comparison, so only do it once it's full signal strength, goes through, and then it will power the dropper, which will then faces the crafter, gets put into the hopper there, and then goes into the dispenser, and then this dropper, and once it's in this dropper, it'll then get dispensed into the Nether. And then the actual farm itself is up here. So this is the Ilmango swamp-based slime farm. It's very efficient for early game, and it will work whilst there's not a whatever you call it, whatever the non-full moon is, the dark moon. So when there's no moon phase, when you can see the dark side of the moon, then it will not work. But once it's a full moon, that's the most peak efficiency. So yeah, so it depends on the face of the moon, but the benefit of this slime farm is the fact that the light level with here is always 1, and so that means that slime can spawn because it can spawn at alien light level, but with hostile mobs they can't spawn because in 1.18 they changed it so that hostile mobs in the overworld in the end will I think it's the end as well, I might be wrong on the end, but in the overworld at least it will they will definitely not spawn above light level 0. So you have to have light levels of hostile mobs, and anything above they will not spawn, which is a good change in my opinion, because it then makes things easier from a spawn proofing perspective, and yeah, it means you can be a bit more liberal with those sort of stuff, no more like spamming lights everywhere, which is great as well. But yeah, but at least with farming as well, it allowed this to be possible. So this can't be done in 1.17 and below, but in 1.18 it definitely can. So that's why we're using the mushrooms, because they emit a light level of 1, which is yeah, peculiar. And yeah, Ilmango designed this up, and yeah, this is just the simpler version of the farm, so just 1 module. And yeah, then the reason we have the iron golem is that they attract the slimes, so the slimes will move across, and then they will fall down here, get into powder snow, die, and yeah, any small slimes will who don't get killed by this slime, the powder snow, will get killed by this campfire. Yeah, that's what the hopper is as well. So that's essentially it, and then yeah, we've got a few other bits. So to allow pack spawning, we've got this little skirt here of slabs, and then the player will AFK up there, and I've been using bots for that, so I can still do whatever I want in the game whilst having some farms running in the background. And yeah, so that's essentially the slime farm, how it works. If you would like to know how to build it and get even more details on the slime farm mechanic stuff, I will link the video to Ilmango's farm in the description.